Nevada, the great silver state and the gold. New tales of Nevada, the stories, people working hard to make a home. Old tales of Nevada.
Hello everybody, welcome to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. We have a great show for you today. We're going to be talking to one of the most important families in Reno history with us today, and we'll tell you why right after this.
Hi there, Leroy Marshall here to welcome you to our new world-famous Marshall Mint at the Reno Town Mall. You'll find gold and silver bars, the V&T Railroad, Wild Mustangs, and Angels of the Day medallions, one-of-a-kind estate jewelry, Morgan dollars, fashion gold and quartz jewelry, and see the free museum with precious stones and crystals from all over the world. The Marshall Mint, now open in Reno at the Reno Town Mall.
Boutique Elegante's Winter Super Sale is on now. Get 30 to 50% off all winter fashion, sizes up to 4X. Shop while the selection is great. That and so much more at Boutique Elegante, Lakeside Court in Reno. Boutique Elegante's Winter Super Sale is on now. Get 30 to 50% off all winter fashion, sizes up to 4X. Shop while the selection is great. That and so much more at Boutique Elegante, Lakeside Court in Reno. Welcome everybody to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. I'm John O'Brien, the host of the show today, and with me my sidekick, Leroy Marshall, our executive producer, the one who makes it possible for us to do the show every week here in the museum room at the Marshall Mansion. So, Leroy, good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, we've kind of been traveling different paths here for the first part of the year.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since we did a show.
Yeah, you went down to Arizona and
had
some good times down there and hunting for gold and silver and all that kind of thing, right?
Well, yeah, I did a little bit of that.
Attaboy. That's his passion, every place he goes, you know. We have a very special show today. It's our 299th episode of Old Tales of Nevada, which means we've been doing it for a long time.
300's coming up.
Yeah, and our 300th show coming up soon. So we wanted to bring back some folks that we had on the show previously, and it was one of the most impactful shows that I've been part of and been able to host, and I know it made an impression on you too as well, and that is to have the Townsells family back with us, and we have Helen Townsells and Jojo Townsells. Yeah. And I said they're a very important family here in Reno because they had a lot to do with the advancement of social relationships between the races, and their family was very important in that, and opening up Reno to the diverse community that we have today. So we want to welcome you to our 299th episode, and we do call it a special show because you're back with us. So Helen, thanks for taking time, and Jojo, you came all the way up from Gardnerville and away from the family. You guys just are totally impressive to me. Helen, you were raised here. Yeah. And both of you raised here in Reno. And when did your life start? When were you born here?
I was born in 55, but we moved here in 56.
56.
So I was 1 year old when we moved here.
Okay, very good. And Jojo, how long have you been a Renoite or Nevada native here?
1960.
1960,
yes.
Yeah, he was born in Reno.
I was born in 1945, so I've been around a lot longer than you two. Right? Yeah, for sure. But you guys have had such a great, exciting, I call exciting and important life, because you came from small beginnings, I'd call it primitive beginnings actually, up here in northern Nevada, to being very successful folks. Helen, tell us about some of your accomplishments, you might say, as you became an adult here in Reno.
Well, one of my biggest accomplishments was writing this book here. This book here I wrote in 2010. I started writing it in 2008. And this book tells of the black history here in Nevada, documented history, just not my views or my opinions. It tells the documented history of things that went on here back in the day.
Yeah.
And like I said, my family, my grandparents came in 1952, and we followed in 56.
Yeah. Great book. Great
yeah,
book.
It just chronicles it. Pardon me?
You get the book everywhere?
You can get this book at Sundance Bookstore.
Oh,
You can get it at on Amazon.com.
Amazon.com,
And of
okay.
course, you can get it from me.
Yes. You probably have some in the trunk, don't you?
I used to carry them around, but I brought it today just so people could see it. And it's in the Nevada Historical Society too.
Yes.
And it's also in the Special Collections Department up at UNR.
Wonderful.
So it told a history that a lot of people didn't know about.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are still surprised about. Just the other day, it was just the Women's International, they're recognizing women right now.
Yeah.
And I lost my train of thought right there. But they were recognizing the women, and I had my grandmother in there.
Oh, wow.
Because of all the accomplishments that she did in her time here.
Yes.
So it's a very positive journey in this book, because it shows people that stayed positive. They didn't let all the negativity discourage them.
Right.
When they were told no and what they had to go do in order to make things work, like water, sewage.
Did the water come from the spring right there?
No.
No, they had to go get it. We'll get into that as we go.
We went through a lot just to get water.
Yeah, that was that wasn't an easy chore.
It was not an easy chore at all.
Yeah, well, that's a super thing, and we're going to talk more about that history over there in Black Springs. I wanted to just introduce JoJo, because JoJo, coming from the same family, very successful family. And JoJo, one of your claims to fame is your great athletic ability that started at a young age, and that led you to what?
Well, I had the pleasure of playing in the NFL. Played professional football for 10 years, predominantly with the New York Jets.
Yeah, that is quite a long career in the NFL to play for 10 years and be productive for 10 years, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and you probably would have played longer, but I think you had an injury, right? You hurt your leg or back or something?
I had a minor injury. I mean, I was very fortunate there, but... got towards the end of my career, I basically chose my family, my wife and I started a family, and I just kind of wanted to start being a stay-at-home dad at that time.
Super. You can't find a better career than that, that's for sure. So that's just a quick intro to the folks we're going to be talking with today. I want to go back to you, Roy, though, and let them tell us why we do the show and why the Townsells are a perfect fit for what we do here on the show.
Yeah, well, the Negro community in our area was basically an anomaly that was created after Abraham Lincoln did the Emancipation Proclamation. But we had efforts at segregation for many years after that.
Yeah.
And they're very important to us in the area because they were the heart of that community in our area.
Yeah, for sure.
And we saw what went on in the segregating, integrating field here, but probably not so dramatic as some other cities.
Yeah, it's probably worse in other cities.
Yeah.
But what I like about the Townsells is they really have the spirit of Nevada that we talk about many times here on the show. In that we find in them. That we find in many people here in Nevada is they don't let the odds go against them. They don't let challenges overcome them. They work hard to make things right and succeed. And that's what,
in order to survive.
Yeah. So we see that a lot on the show in our 300 episodes. You're a perfect fit for the show. The Black community.
Pioneers.
Yeah, pioneers actually.
Yeah, I guess you could call us pioneers.
Yeah, you are. Your family certainly is, for sure. The Black community had very meager beginnings. When you think about it, I was doing some research about the Black community in Nevada, and it goes all the way back to 1842.
Yeah,
to Jim Beckworth, and a lot of people are familiar with that name, Beckworth, because of the Beckworth Pass.
Right.
And remember? Well, Jim Beckworth, and that surprised me, I did not know it, was a black man.
Yes.
And
That was
he,
above Sierraville.
yeah, up above Sierraville. And he was getting away from slavery. He came out to Nevada, as I read, and he became a fur trader and hunter, you know, woodsman or whatever you want to call him. And he discovered the Beckworth Pass, which is used by immigrants probably still today.
Still today, yeah.
So that was the beginning of the black community making a contribution to Nevada. And Northern California.
Yeah.
So I thought that was so cool just to learn that in my research, you know.
Yeah.
But you probably, as you know many really important black individuals that have lived here in Nevada, including your own family. But I was doing some other research. You're familiar with that man down in Gardnerville. He was a rancher down there, Ben Palmer.
Ben Palmer, yeah.
Ben Palmer was a major landowner down there as well as a businessman.
Yeah.
And remember, in history, he teamed up with Mr. Danberg, who owns much or just about all of that west side of Gardnerville there towards the mountains. So it's just like one thing after another where the black businessman, the entrepreneur, especially like you said, Helen, up in Virginia City was rather prominent, right?
Right. For
Yeah.
blacks to be up there, and as far as business owners, miners,
Yeah.
like Roy said, saloon owners.
Yeah.
There was tons of millionaires up there that were blacks that came to that community, especially when Virginia City was thriving in the mining business.
Yeah, in fact, Mr. Palmer was in partnership with some individuals in mining up there in BC and other places.
Yeah.
So it just is a great story to learn about. And it wasn't done without challenges, as we know, right?
Right.
Because despite the success of different individuals, there was a lot of prejudice and segregation. Am I right in that?
You're very right. This place, Nevada, Reno, Nevada, was known as Mississippi of the West back in the day.
Mississippi of the West.
Mississippi of the West. A lot of blacks migrated from the South to come here, thinking that it was going to be better.
Yeah.
And when they got here, they ran into the segregation.
Yeah.
Couldn't buy property in downtown Reno.
Amazing.
Couldn't go into the casinos.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was actually signs outside the casinos saying no Negroes, no dogs, and no Indians.
Holy moly. Yeah. So it wasn't so great up here for a lot of years.
No.
In fact, I was reading when it was a territory of Utah, that Utah actually had slavery. It was legal in Utah. So there were slaves in the old days here in Nevada. Not a great number.
Right.
In fact, I was reading when the Emancipation Act came through, there were only 3 slaves that they knew of that were in Nevada at the time in that territory. So it wasn't a big thing here, but it was certainly legal here for a long time. Well, listen, we want to break here, and then we'll come back, and I want to start getting into your time, especially the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and some of the things that you had to deal with personally here in northern Nevada. But how you overcame all those challenges and the great success you've had, and what the future is like for you and for the race relations in Nevada now compared to what it was back then. So we'll be back with more Old Tales of Nevada Past and Present right after this.
Everything is handpicked here at Precision Diamonds. All jewelry is handpicked here at Precision Diamonds.
Come to Precision Diamonds. I'll fix your jewelry just like new.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988. So ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle, we're the biker's bike shop. Hi, I'm Paula.
And I'm Dan. We're the producers of the Tanner's Marketplace Antiques and Craft Shows at the Livestock Event Center on Wells Avenue.
I'd also like to tell you about our everyday location. We're at Somewhere in Time on South Virginia Street. We're Antique Antiques, booth number 46.
You'll find paintings by Nevada artists, collectible glass, vintage jewelry, Native American jewelry and baskets, antiques and unusual to unique items.
Find it all at Antique Antiques inside Somewhere in Time at 1313 South Virginia Street.
Come see us!
Boutique Elegante's Winter Super Sale is on now. Get 30 to 50% off all winter fashion, sizes up to 4X. Shop while the selection is great. That and so much more at Boutique Elegante, Lakeside Court in Reno.
Hi there, Leroy Marshall here to welcome you to our new world-famous Marshall Mint at the Reno Town Mall. You'll find gold and silver bars, the V&T Railroad, Wild Mustangs, and Angels of the Day medallions, one-of-a-kind estate jewelry, Morgan dollars, fashion gold and quartz jewelry, and see the free museum with precious stones and crystals from all over the world. The Marshall Mint, now open in Reno at the Reno Town Mall.
Welcome back to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. We're having a great conversation here with the Townsells, Helen Townsell and JoJo Townsell, who are Reno natives. They're right, born here, raised here.
I am.
Oh, well,
She sort of
almost.
is.
She's been here long enough to be in. Well,
I got here at 1.
Yeah, okay. Well, you qualify.
I got here at an embryo stage. So.
That's good. Well, we're just so happy to have you on the show and help people learn about the history of race relations here in Reno, Nevada. As you mentioned in our last segment, Reno was known as the Mississippi of the West, and it was a moniker that was well earned because of the way things were done here back in the day. And like you mentioned briefly, there was a lot of segregation in Reno. You couldn't buy homes here, you couldn't go to the casinos here. And question is, I guess, is where did you live? Because there was a black community, so what was the situation there that you had to deal with?
Well, in I believe it was 56, a guy by the name of J.E. Sweat had bought up some property north of Reno called Black Springs.
Ah.
And he sectioned it off into 1/4 acres, and he did this just to sell to nothing but blacks.
I see.
To give them that opportunity to buy land and build a house and, whatever every other American wanted.
Right, because you couldn't do it in Reno.
You couldn't do it in Reno.
So before he had that land to sell, where did the black community live? I mean,
there was a little spot over there by over by what is that family's name? The Chisholms.
Oh, the Chisholms.
Over in that area,
okay,
by a Keystone, and down in that they had an apartment complex.
Oh, okay.
Where the blacks stayed. That's where all the black people stayed.
Okay, so there was actually kind of outside Reno.
It was outside to the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over kind of in the Oxbow Park area,
okay,
kind of like.
So the area that was opened up was called Black Springs. Now, how did it get that name?
It's 2 stories. The first one is in Peavine, which used to be a mining place. The black coals from the mining would be in a spring of water.
Oh.
And the water looked black.
Okay.
And so that's where one story comes that it became Black Springs. The other one is because the property, J.E. Sweat bought the property from a guy by the name of Joe Black.
Oh.
And so those are the two stories as to how the name came about.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not because it was an all-black neighborhood.
Right. Because somebody might go there. Somebody might think that. But I'm glad you explained that.
Yeah.
But there was actually some mining being done up on Peavine.
Yes.
And so the original dwellings or buildings that were in Black Springs were for those miners. That's the story, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They were little shacks where the miners would go and sleep and rest until time to go back to work.
Okay, very good. So your grandparents, the Westbrooks, Ollie and Helen, they came to Reno when? What was
in 1952.
1952. And he came here why?
Well, they were heading to Seattle.
Oh, okay.
He was going to be a longshoreman.
Oh, right.
And they came through Reno, and as he says in the book, he heard that work was good here.
Oh, okay.
And he worked construction.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but even back in the day, the majority of the construction workers here were black.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Did not know that. Now they're mostly Hispanic.
They're mostly Hispanic.
Yeah, that's kind of weird the way that works, huh? So they came. Now, did he expect conditions to be different? Or was
he expected it to be like it was in California. That's where they were at the time.
Okay, was California kind of an open
it was kind of
society
open.
then?
Yeah.
They're more accepting of other minorities and so on? So he comes to Reno, and all of a sudden, he has to buy a house. Did he buy a house in
He
Black
couldn't buy a house. Like he says in the book, there was no room for me in mine, which was my grandmother. And so they stayed in the little apartment complex where most of the blacks stayed.
Okay.
And then that's when they heard about this guy, J.E. Sweat.
Yeah.
And that's when my grandfather approached him as to would he consider selling them some property.
Yeah.
And Mr. Sweat's response was, the only color I see is green.
That's a great attitude to have. Yeah.
And he sold, and just to let you know too, Mr. J.E. Sweat was an assemblyman here back in the day. And he got a lot of flack because of what he did.
No kidding, really?
Oh yeah, they
that
wanted to
bad?
get rid of him and everything because of what he did.
It's
a lot of hate.
A lot of hate in those days, unnecessary hate. I mean, it's crazy, huh? Yeah. People get prejudiced over the stupidest reasons, really.
And Mr. J.E. Sweats, I wish I'd have known this before I wrote the book because I would have put it in there. I met his son when we were doing the book signing, and he told me the story of his dad riding on the train with Eleanor Roosevelt.
Oh.
And that he told her of his dream to come to Nevada and buy this property and section it off so that blacks could be able to buy land.
How nice is that?
And she encouraged him to do it.
Well, how wonderful is that?
And I told him, had I known that, that would have been in my book.
Now, while that was a wonderful gesture for Mr. Swift to do that, he didn't bring a lot of amenities with the land, right?
No.
Tell us what your grandparents and even you guys had to put up with out there. What was the situation?
There were shacks, one-room shacks. There was no electricity, no running water. Sagebrush, no sewage. We had cesspools.
Wow.
And I think that a lot of the neighbors had to dig their own cesspools. It's not like they were just there.
So you had to heat with wood then?
And we had outhouses. And
you had to go out and chop wood somewhere, right? Or get wood somewhere, right?
And water, a local businessman here in Reno, Mr. Foster. The gas station is still there right over on Sierra Street. He let all the residents in Black Springs come and get water any time of the day, night.
Yeah.
No charge.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing.
And so my dad, every day, my dad did construction.
Yeah.
Every day he would have all these big buckets and gallons of stuff, and he'd go by every day after work and fill them up.
Yeah.
And
so, it's kind of funny because your dad was in construction, the black community was in construction.
Yes.
So the community evidently needed that kind of skill to build their casinos and their homes and whatever else. So you were in the middle of the community all the time.
Yeah.
But when the workday was over, you had to go back to Black Springs and live under those conditions. That to me is like unimaginable. Why would somebody do that?
My dad helped build a lot of these casinos here. He helped build Arlington Towers.
Yeah.
Pepper Mill. All downtown.
But you couldn't go in the casino.
But he couldn't go in there and gamble or eat anything.
That's too much. Yeah. So your grandparents became very active politically, right?
Yes.
And because you could have gone either way there. You could look at yourself as a victim and feel really bad and hateful about the situation, or you could go the other way. And your parents or your grandparents took the route that led to success. Tell us what they did.
Well, what they did is they came together. They commissioned the city to give them help, basically. And it was a letter that my grandfather wrote in 1968 that finally the county commissioners heard him. Oh. And they sent Andy Gordon, who was what was he?
He was a county worker.
County commissioner or something?
No,
it's just,
he was
it was a I can't remember the.
I can't remember exactly what he was, but anyhow, they sent Andy Gordon here. It might come to me in a minute.
Sure.
And what he did is he taught my grandparents everything that they needed to know about how to write grants, how to apply for money to do improvement for that community. When he was a Vista worker. When Andy first came, he came like in the middle of the night. And we had a little house for him to stay at out there, a little shack.
Really?
And he said that when he was coming down that last street on North Virginia, the old North Virginia Street, all he could see was the sagebrush, and he was trying to think, where in the heck did they send me to?
That was far out of town in those days.
He saw how raggedy the community was, how it was, you know, just like you see in this picture here.
Yeah, just sagebrush and shacks.
He said that all he could think of is, where did they send me to?
Well, was there kind of a committee that started?
Yes.
Organization.
Andy helped them to start a board. And to this day, they still have their own board, their own water board. They still own their own water.
That was the most important thing, right? Is
the
to get
water.
Clean water.
The water.
That you didn't have to carry from miles away, right?
Or
so what did they do? Dig wells then?
They dug wells. They talked to Mr. Sweat and asked him if he could help them get water.
I see.
And he tried, but none of them were really educated on how to dig a well. And although they did do it, the problem of it is that if the upper part of Black Springs was using their water, then the lower part of Black Springs was just going to get a dribble, and vice versa.
So therefore, there's a water tank up there now.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was an original.
Neighborhood water tank.
Neighborhood water tank. A great idea. So that sits up on top. In fact, that's a way to identify where Black Springs is today, right?
Today, it's a big tank.
It sits on the left side of the road.
But that's not the one we built. That's what we got down the road.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the one that we built is no longer there.
It's not there. Huh?
It was not worth being there.
So Black Springs, as far as location, so people know, you see that water tank up on North Virginia on the left side of the road. So isn't Black Springs right on the other side of the road? Or
actually, that big water tank is on the right side.
Oh, it is on the right side. Okay.
Kennedy Drive is where you would turn in off of North Virginia
to
go into the community, and then to the left, right once you turn in, there's the big water tank.
Yeah. Now all the roads are paved. In the old days, they weren't.
They weren't.
They were dirt roads. I can imagine in the springtime.
My brothers made good use of those roads.
Yeah.
With their bikes. The potholes, and you see if you could get in and how high you could jump.
My goodness. Well, that's okay when they're dry, but when they're wet,
not
must
same thing. It didn't matter.
That's how we learned how to jump over those linemen, you know, in the NFL.
Well, you have to think in the community that we lived in, there was nothing to do, so you had to make your own fun.
Oh, yeah, but it must have been fun in a way because you had the wide open spaces out there, you know. Well, listen, we're coming up to the end of our second segment here, so I want to come back and talk more about your grandparents and then your parents and then you guys and some of the things you had to face in school and then beyond and how things are today and beyond. So back with more Old Tales of Nevada past and present right after this.
Hey everyone, Dave Asher here introducing you to our new store, the Nevada Marketplace, in the Reno Town Mall. Anchored with the Buy Nevada First gift shop, we've added over 60 micro shops, giving locals a place to set up their dream store. We are now 20,000 square feet strong, supporting over 250 local merchants with all things made in Nevada and more. We have more locals in one place than anywhere in the state, ready to help you find that perfect gift. We're open every day with easy parking at Peckham and Virginia. Go to buynevadafirst.com, your source for all things local.
Boutique Elegante's Winter Super Sale is on now. Get 30 to 50% off all winter fashion, sizes up to 4X. Shop while the selection is great. That and so much more at Boutique Elegante, Lakeside Court in Reno. Boutique Elegante's Winter Super Sale is on now. Get 30 to 50% off all winter fashion, sizes up to 4X. Shop while the selection is great. That and so much more at Boutique Elegante, Lakeside Court in Reno.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988. So ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle, we're the biker's bike shop.
Somewhere in Time is the place to find what will be treasured for all time. It's a huge store filled with unusual coins, collectibles, art, antiques, and more. You might say they have everything under the sun, almost. See it to believe it at Somewhere in Time in Reno.
Deluxe Travel, locally owned and operating since 1991, is the home for travel to Mexico and Central and South America. The crew at Deluxe Travel is bilingual, trustworthy, thorough, and caring. They will do everything possible to make your dream vacation the best it can be. Now is the time to book for winter travel, so stop by the office at 100 California Avenue or call 686-7000. You can also check us out on our website at deluxetravelLTD.com.
At Deluxe Travel, we sell dreams. Come in and plan yours.
Welcome back to our third segment here of Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present. Just to introduce everybody one more time, I'm John O'Brien, the host of the show. With me, the executive producer, Roy Marshall, and then our special guests for our special show today are the Townsells, and we have Helen and JoJo with us today, and just giving us a history that's just hard for me to comprehend, that we could be the Mississippi of the West, you know? But it's true. It's absolutely true. And I just admire you guys because of what you had to go through and how you overcome it. When did things start to turn for the community up there at Black Springs? When did things start to turn for the black community in general? Was it after the Civil Rights Act in '65? How long did it take after that signing for the community actually to move forward and to become more integrated with the general population here in Reno?
Well, it started in 1969.
69, huh?
Yeah, so it took about 4 years for them to catch up to the...
Okay, and were you in high school then?
I was in high school.
High school, yeah.
I was just my first year of high school.
And how many black individuals were in the high school at that time?
I'd say there might have been about 40.
40?
30 or 40.
Okay, so very much a minority at that time, yeah. I remember when I went to high school, Dumont, New Jersey, which was 15 miles from New York City, was pretty much a white community. We had diverse community in the sense of we had Jewish, Italian, we've had the Irish, of course, but we didn't have any black students in our high school. Finally, one black student came to our high school. And he was good at sports like JoJo. So, but you know, it seemed like everybody accepted it.
Who was the
really well.
president then? Was it Johnson? President
Johnson, and then Nixon.
And then Nixon. Yeah.
Vietnam War came.
War, yeah. So anyway, it was interesting to see the transformation even in my community back there. You know, in the early days.
And you know, back then that was considered all the blacks went to that school. You might have had one or two in another school like Reno High or Worcester.
Right.
But the majority of the blacks in this town went to Hug High School.
Hug High School, yeah.
Because when they did open it up where blacks could move into Reno, they all moved to Northeast Reno.
Ah.
And that was pretty much a black community then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you became a cheerleader, right?
Yeah, I was
you were the first black cheerleader at Hug High School.
No, at St. Thomas.
Oh, St. Thomas.
At St. Thomas.
Was that easy to do?
Well, you know, to be honest, at St. Thomas, we really never experienced prejudice. It wasn't until we went to the public schools.
Public school.
And so when they chose our cheerleading squad, what you did is you had the girls got together and there was different squads, and we all went out and tried out together.
Okay.
And they picked the squad.
Yeah, all right.
Not just individuals. They picked the squad, and my squad won.
Won, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good.
But
Congratulations.
no one even thought anything about that I was black.
So there was like two different factions.
But then when I went to Hug High School, it's a whole different thing, because when I went to Hug High School, that's where predominantly all the blacks were.
Yeah.
And all our guys playing sports and this and that. But yet they didn't want to allow any blacks on the cheerleading squads. So we made our own little thing, and we got a thing called the Solarettes, and it was a dance group.
Solarettes, all right. Sounds good. I bet you were great, too.
We were.
Yeah. Well, see, again, you're not going to let anybody stop you. I mean, you're just going to move forward. And how did you do scholastically? Were you pretty strong?
I was a lot better in Catholic school, because when we went to public school, again, the work was really easy in public school compared to Catholic school. We had already learned a lot of the material
So
that
you
they
get
were
bored.
giving. So it was kind of boring.
Yeah, yeah.
But
well, you were kind of an activist, if I remember our last conversation. You didn't take segregation laying down.
no, I didn't take it too well.
Yeah. You were angry.
I did a lot to fight for equal rights, even in high school.
That a girl.
I tell some people that where you were going to high school and had the privilege of going to learn and do this and do that, I was fighting for rights.
Absolutely.
You know?
Very good.
And
well,
so,
congratulations.
Yeah.
That again proves my point. You have that spirit of Nevada, you know.
Yeah.
We don't take adversity.
We don't
lightly.
take no.
We don't take no for an answer for sure.
Yeah.
And JoJo, you had some great experiences in high school. It was Hug High as well.
Yes.
Okay. And that's where you became known as an athlete, at least. And you were excelling in how many sports back then?
I started with 3: football,
Yeah.
basketball, and track.
Yeah. And then your football was the thing that really brought your name out to everybody, right? And what position did you play? Fullback? Tailback?
I was a running back.
Was it wing back or T-back?
Well, it depended on the offense and the team. I mean, one year I was like a slot back.
Okay.
And then I became a featured running back my senior year.
Yeah.
What was that year about, JoJo?
That was from 1974 to 1978 that I was at HUD.
So how was your experience compared to Helen's experience in high school then? Was it more open at starting in the 70s as far as race relations, opportunities, that kind of thing?
Well, I was fortunate because I'm the youngest of 7 out of all of us.
The baby of the family.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got to get the fruits of the labor.
Yeah.
Between starting with my grandmother and grandfather, and then Helen and my other brothers that were doing things while at Hug High School that by the time I got there, the relations were better.
Super.
They were more open.
Yeah.
But still, there was still a lot of difficult challenges that you have to deal with, obviously, because we still were going through as a country.
Yeah.
We're still going through.
So how were things in the locker room for you? Like, you had the white players, you got the black players. I'm sure you weren't the only black player, but was there segregation in the locker room at all?
Of
No,
course.
or was that all done by then?
No.
It wasn't.
It was that. I mean, you usually, especially in team sports, you usually gravitate to people that
right.
people that you're used to from a cultural standpoint, but you also, to people that you play the same position with because you're trying to learn and work with each other on a daily basis. But no, we had quite a few incidents, with other schools and within our own teams.
Really?
Because. The bottom line is that for some reason, and it's just the history of America. I mean, you throw out that N-word, and that N-word is something that everyone feels that if I can call you that, that's going to demean you. That's going to, that's going to make you, less than me.
Right.
And so, I still had to deal with that, and I've had to deal with that. We've had to deal with that all our lives.
Even now.
Yes.
Even now,
some unthinkful, people who aren't very thoughtful. Will still use words like that, which is.
I got called the N-word probably about a year or 2 ago, and when they called it to me, all I could do was look like, wow,
what is wrong?
I haven't heard that in a long time.
You are
and I was
redneck.
like, where did you come from? I mean, to do it in a demeaning way like he's saying,
Yes,
know.
right.
But I was really surprised because you don't hear it too much anymore except for in, unfortunately, the music.
Yeah. Now, so you went from high school, you went to, was it USC or was it UCLA?
How dare you?
UCLA.
You bite your tongue big time.
I got to read
UCLA.
Yes. And you were a star there, right?
Yes.
Very much so. And did you find things, once you got into Southern California or Northern California, was it a different atmosphere over there in California as far as race relations went there?
Great question. Yes and no. It was more progressive because it was California, more populated. So with it being more populated, I mean, at the time when I went to UCLA, I mean, the campus of UCLA was almost bigger than downtown Reno.
Yeah, right.
So it was quite a culture shock.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the best thing about it is that you're surrounding yourself with people that are there to become successful.
Yeah.
So that was the thing that was the most exciting about being part of the college experience.
Sure.
But no, there were still dynamics though there between race relations and you know, cultural differences that, you know, we're still talking, you know, late 70s, early 80s. So there's still, you know, there's some growth that we still had to go through.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you guys are right in the forefront of it, and I think because of your perseverance and your endurance, not giving up, you made things better for everybody that's out there today. I mean, the black community has come so far. You know, look at all the government officials, all the business people. I think of Luther Mack. You know, here in town, right? He was probably one of the first ones that I recognized after I came to town to be a very successful businessman. But you probably associate with a lot of the business people in town, don't you? With what you do, JoJo, now, and Helen, with your book and your association with the Historical Society and things like that.
Well, I'm in touch with a lot of them, yes. As far as, especially with the Black History Month when it comes up, you know.
Sure.
But no, I am in touch with a lot of them as far as different little activities going around in the community.
Yeah.
Angie Taylor is one of my main contacts. Yeah. She does a lot of research.
Board of Education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's on the school board.
School board.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the way every Black History Month, every single day for all 28 days, she has a different story about a black person, a lot of them scientists that contributed to this country.
Absolutely.
And I find it very interesting reading material.
Got to give you a lot of pride when you find out that all this is going on, all this talent out there that was sort of under wraps. I remember that movie about NASA and the women there.
Hidden Figures.
Yeah, Hidden Figures. That had such an important role to play in getting that spaceship in the air successfully.
Right.
And nobody knew about it until the movie came out.
Right.
You know? So when you see stuff like that, what does that do for you? It must make you feel wonderful, doesn't it?
Well, it makes you want to change the history books a little bit.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I was going to ask you, JoJo, before I get too far off and get into another segment. How was it for in the NFL? Was it race relations? Because there's a lot of black ball players. Was it a lot more open in those days, opportunity-wise, pay-wise, things like that?
Well, you know, the time I played from the mid '80s to the low '90s, I mean, race relations were fine.
Yeah.
Still, again, you know, within your teams, you have your own. You kind of departmentalize yourselves between your position and, again, you know, people that you feel most comfortable with because of your background.
Yeah.
You know, so. You know, all I can do is speak for myself. I mean, I've had great relationships with most of my teammates from different backgrounds and races.
You get harder hit by the other team though.
Yeah.
Once in a while.
We got to wrap on this segment. I'll come back. Got one more question for you on that. Back with more old tales of Nevada, past and present, right after we hear from our sponsors. Right now.
Hey everyone, Dave Asher here introducing you to our new store, the Nevada Marketplace, in the Reno Town Mall. Anchored with the Buy Nevada First gift shop, we've added over 60 micro shops, giving locals a place to set up their dream store. We are now 20,000 square feet strong, supporting over 250 local merchants with all things made in Nevada and more. We have more locals in one place than anywhere in the state, ready to help you find that perfect gift. We're open every day with easy parking at Peckham and Virginia. Go to buynevadafirst.com, your source for all things local.
Boutique Elegante's Winter Super Sale is on now. Get 30 to 50% off all winter fashion, sizes up to 4X. Shop while the selection is great. That and so much more at Boutique Elegante, Lakeside Court in Reno.
Everything is handpicked here at Precision Diamonds. All jewelry is handpicked here at Precision Diamonds.
Come to Precision Diamonds. I'll fix your jewelry just like new.
Hi there, Leroy Marshall here to welcome you to our new world-famous Marshall Mint at the Reno Town Mall. You'll find gold and silver bars, the V&T Railroad, Wild Mustangs, and Angels of the Day medallions, one-of-a-kind estate jewelry, Morgan dollars, fashion gold and quartz jewelry, and see the free museum with precious stones and crystals from all over the world. The Marshall Mint, now open in Reno at the Reno Town Mall.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988. So ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle, we're the biker's bike shop.
Somewhere in Time is the place to find what will be treasured for all time. It's a huge store filled with unusual coins, collectibles, art, antiques, and more. You might say they have everything under the sun, almost. See it to believe it at Somewhere in Time in Reno. Boutique Elegante's Winter Super Sale is on now. Get 30 to 50% off all winter fashion, sizes up to 4X. Shop while the selection is great. That and so much more at Boutique Elegante, Lakeside Court in Reno.
Come to Precision Diamonds. I'll fix your jewelry just like new.
Deluxe Travel, locally owned and operating since 1991, is the home for travel to Mexico and Central and South America. The crew at Deluxe Travel is bilingual, trustworthy, thorough, and caring. They will do everything possible to make your dream vacation the best it can be. Now is the time to book for winter travel, so stop by the office at 100 California Avenue or call 686-7000. You can also check us out on our website at deluxetravelLTD.com.
At Deluxe Travel, we sell dreams. Come in and plan yours.
Boutique Elegante's Winter Super Sale is on now. Get 30 to 50% off all winter fashion, sizes up to 4X. Shop while the selection is great. That and so much more at Boutique Elegante, Lakeside Court in Reno. We're back here for our last segment of Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present. We're talking with the Townsells, Helen and JoJo Townsell, and we're just finding out a lot about what people go through to have a happy life and to be successful, and you guys have done it, and we appreciate your telling us. And I think it's a motivation for others too, you know, whether you're, I don't care what color you are, you know, we all face challenges, and we can become victims, and we can be make it our identity in some ways, you know, or we can pull up our bootstraps and find a way to make it a successful life, you know, from our experiences, and that's what I see in you two. One other question I had for the NFL: when you went down south to play some of the teams in the South, what was the situation there when you went to a hotel or whatever? Did you have to have separate accommodations or what?
No, those days were long gone.
Oh, good. Okay. That's because that's the 80s, 90s.
Yeah, you're kind of mummifying me right now.
I'm hoping it's gone by then, that's for sure. Okay, so right now, your present day situation is you both have foundations, right?
Yes.
Helen, you have a foundation, and what's the name of your foundation?
Westbrook Foundation.
Westbrook, which is named after your grandparents who did so much to make things better. And your foundation's mission is to do what?
We give scholarships to kids.
No kidding.
Seniors.
Wonderful.
That are going to continue their education.
Yeah, in what field in particular?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, as long as they're continuing their education. I sit on the scholarship board for Ronald McDonald House.
Oh, okay.
And I work with them in giving scholarships, but I bring in my money, and so my scholarship goes under Westbrook Foundation.
Okay, are they substantial scholarships or
$1,000 a year?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. So how long has that been in place?
Since 2010.
2010.
Is when we started.
Is the foundation behind the community center that was built up there in Black Springs?
No, that's just a community center that I basically petitioned the county to name after my grandparents because of everything they did in the community.
Okay.
They have a street named after them out there too, Westbrook Lane.
Westbrook Lane.
And then we named the community community center Westbrook.
Now your family still lives out there. Not
my
you
mom
in
still
particular.
lives there.
Your mom's out there,
Yeah.
and is a couple of your brothers and sisters, right?
No, none of my brothers. Just my mom is out there.
Oh, just your mom by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, because last time we were out there.
I did have a brother that was living with my mom, but he since has moved.
Okay, because last time we went out there and shot some footage, there was your mom and one other person there.
And could I just add one little thing, because he was talking about how the players were. Well, back in the day when my brothers played for the local sports here, and they would go to Carson City. When they would come back and they'd want to stop in one of the restaurants and all the team would eat together, my brothers weren't allowed to go into the restaurant. And so there was one guy in Carson City that owned a restaurant that would set up an area out in the back of the patio so that all the team could eat together. And that's where they would stop at all the time.
You
and
know,
eat.
what was that year, Al?
That was back in the middle 60s. Middle 60s.
Things were still pretty
60s,
bad.
65,
Fruits of the labor,
66.
man. Fruits of the labor.
Fruits of the labor.
Yeah.
You've got to be so happy for your siblings.
My older brother, Tony, he was telling me about that experience because back then he played football and basketball, and my other brother, Jeff, did, and so they weren't allowed in the restaurants in Carson City.
Unbelievable. You know, we'll never know. I mean, us of the Caucasian persuasion, I mean, we never have faced the things that you guys have faced, and you know, it's terrible that has to happen. We often talk about, you, Roy, and I, about man and our relationships with man, and it seems like, you know, we're missing a very important thing, and that's love. We don't have enough love in our society to have a good relationship with people. Imagine being prejudiced towards somebody because of color.
Because of their color.
I mean,
I used to ask my mom. I used to ask my mom. I said, "Why don't they like us?"
Yeah,
you know,
it's all because of color. That's all it is. You know,
I think really it's education.
Yeah. Well, when I was in the,
I agree with you.
How you educate your kids.
Exactly.
Indians or
everybody else. Well, my dad and mom. My mom was born in the Bronx, and my dad was born. Mom was born in Brooklyn. My dad was born in the Bronx. A totally diverse community there, and they never had a prejudice towards the black community. And so when I met a black person, I was fine with it. It was different, but I mean, the kid I met was great. So we got along good. He played sports. We all played together. You know, it was a good thing. Sure. And I never grew up that way, and it's hard for me to fathom somebody looking at somebody.
Well, imagine your parents having to tell you how to act when you leave the house for your own protection.
Yeah,
basically.
Unbelievable.
Especially being a boy.
Well, hopefully things are getting better. So, JoJo, I wanted to get to your foundation, which is, well, you give me the name because I can't remember how to pronounce it.
MeFi-I.
MeFi-I, and it is located down in Gardnerville?
Located in Gardnerville, but it's a Nevada foundation.
Okay,
so
what
we
do you
work
do?
all throughout the state
What's
of
your
Nevada.
mission there?
Our mission is basically to teach the importance of education through sports.
Okay.
So we help mentor students and athletes with their sports education and their career aspirations.
Oh, super.
That's important.
Very good. And how many students have you been able to help over the years?
Quite a few. We've been very proud of that. I mean, we started this back in 1997, so this is our 22nd year.
Wow.
And right now we are in a situation where obviously Nevada's in a booming economy right now, and we're trying to get our kids to understand what those opportunities mean. So workforce development is a big thing for everybody, and so we're trying to bring that, that type of program to our kids at an early age, starting in middle school.
So do you outreach to places like Panasonic, Tesla? I know there's some big companies like Starbucks and there's another big company down there too. Do they partner with you in training and educating people to have skills to take some of those jobs?
Well, definitely. There's a number of community organizations along with the businesses that we all work with, and we just try to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of talent here in Northern Nevada with our youth and teens, and the businesses want to meet them.
Yeah.
You know, they're just looking for motivated individuals that they'd like to train, help them go through college if that's what they want to do.
Sure.
But they know that the workforce is important for us, not only for our future, but mainly for our economy.
Do you focus mainly on the minorities, or are you open to all races? And
if you're a Nevada youth, we will work with you.
Super. That's great. Yeah. Well, what a life. You guys have had quite a life, and you got a long life ahead of you to contribute to Northern Nevada's success. So, we wish you the best in what you're doing. What's the future for the foundation that you're running, and what's your project you're working on right now?
Well, you know, I'm thinking about writing a book about the Baileys.
Oh, the Baileys,
yeah, they were pretty instrumental in this community too back in the day.
Yeah.
Especially like you, Roy, and I were talking earlier. A lot of the black entertainers that were here.
Yeah.
When they would finish entertaining, they couldn't go into the casino.
Right.
And there was a spot that Mr. Bailey had built over on 6th Street. It was like a club.
Yeah.
And they had rooms in there and everything. And that's where they would go and stay and have like a shing-ding that night down in the basement, and a lot of the black locals would come and party.
Yeah. Sammy Davis Jr. was
one of the
Mrs. Bailey's house.
And I promised her that I would write a little something about that because I had an interview with her when she was close to 100 years old.
Wow.
And she told me some things about them because her mom was Mrs. Bailey.
Ah, okay.
And, you know, Mr. Bailey, her dad.
Yeah, yeah.
And she told me about how Mr. Bailey was a greeter here in Reno.
Yeah.
He would stand over there at the train station, and all the blacks that would get off the train, he would tell them where they could go and where they couldn't go.
How about that?
And give them all the information and the so-called lowdowns of the town.
Yeah.
Well, we've heard a little bit about this from some other people.
Yeah, we have.
You're making it much clearer.
Well, I think you ought to write that book. I think, JoJo, you ought to write a book and expose this to the folks in Northern Nevada and beyond, because I think the more we know about each other, the less prejudice there is, right?
That's true.
Yeah, because suspicion comes because we don't know enough about each other.
Yeah.
You know, you're a quality person, you're a quality person, and there's many more that are quality people. And once you understand that, you respect people.
Yeah.
Right?
The thing to do is check your DNA, because you guys, you know, couldn't be part Egyptian, part people
you could be royalty, JoJo.
One of my brothers did check his DNA. Yeah, he did check it. I forget what the results was. Junior did his DNA.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
But it was a lot of African.
Yeah.
In there.
You weren't black Irish.
And it was Indian, a lot of Indian, which we do have Indian in our family.
Yeah.
We're from the Creek Nation.
Yeah.
I have my Indian card.
Yeah.
So.
Was there slavery in your ancestry?
Yes.
There was?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Wow. And even in my ancestry of the Indians, that's how the white man that, he owned the Indian lady that was my grandmother's great-grandmother. And he fell in love with her, and he married her. They had 9 kids.
Oh.
And that's where the Indian comes in our family.
Wow.
And they give us our Indian cards because of that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, take it where you can get it. You know?
Take it anywhere you get it.
Well, we wish you two the best. You know, you're great friends of the show.
Thank you.
Like I said in the beginning, that show, the original shows we did with both of you, were so impactful for me, because I never knew that the things that you described could happen out here in the wild, wild west, you know? I thought anything goes and everybody was accepted, but that wasn't the case.
No, it wasn't.
So you have brought a great knowledge to us and helps us to understand how we need to treat people better and treat each other better. So we appreciate you being on the show.
And don't let anything bad in your life make
Put you
that
down.
victim.
I agree with that. So thanks for being with us. We want to thank the audience for being with us for our 299th show. Our 300th show coming up soon, so we want to invite you back for that. And we want to thank you, Roy, Helen, JoJo, for being with us today. And wish you a great Nevada day, and we'll see you next week on Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present.